Welcome to the Principal Podcast, where we talk about how the best professional services firms grow. Whether you're looking to scale your firm or learn from the stories of founders and leaders who've done it, you're in the right place. Join us as we interview the best leaders in professional services. Let's get on with the show.
Today we have a special guest, Benjamin Ball. He's the founder and chief coach of Benjamin Ball Associates. They're a presentation and communication advisory firm serving private equity firms, venture capital investors, blue chip companies, and professional service businesses with a unique approach that I've not seen before. So I'm excited to hear Benjamin's story. So Benjamin, when you started your business, you had to take from where you were previously working a corporate life and then get involved in having to teach people how to specialize in presentation and other coaching. How did that all evolve?
I guess before setting this up, I was a corporate financier at the City of London. And what I noticed there was that what I was seeing was a lot of companies, a lot of businesses where the founder or the CEO was just not very good at talking about their company in a way that investors were interested.
Okay.
And as well as all the usual stuff one has to do as a corporate financier, checking the numbers, checking the regulations and things like that. For some of us, what we really loved doing was looking at how you could market a company. What we did was put together really good pitch decks, really good investment memorandum, and realized there was nobody else doing it. So set up 15 years ago. And we've been going from strength to strength ever since.
That's an amazing story. You're right, because so many people have great ideas and a good concept, but if they can't present it effectively, what good is the value of their sale, their pitch, as you had mentioned? So putting together someone to have an orchestrated professional presentation requires a separate set of skills. So when you look at some of the things that you deal with today, what are the problems that you help your clients solve besides a good presentation? And why is that important to you, Benjamin?
Yeah, no, that's a good way of putting it. I guess the biggest challenge we've got is that, if you're a founder, if you're a CEO of a business, you're too close to the business. You understand the nuance and the detail and what's happening day to day, but that's not what an investor wants to know. An investor wants to know, why is this a good investment? How is it going to make me money? Why are you better than other people in this industry? And how are you going to grow this business? So that's the first thing I think we do. Second thing, I guess a lot of senior, a lot of people who run companies don't always understand what investors want. Because investors want a different thing than your customers want. And so what we do, we help them translate their customer language into investor language.
So when you think about it, so you're presenting a deck and you're going to lay it out, and you've got to think from the client's point of view, not what they want to present, but what their audience wants to hear or see or be demonstrated in a visual format so they can follow along. It's not just a spoken word. Or do you work on the delivery of the deck in the spoken word, because you just have bullet points primarily. Yeah. How do they expand those? Do you help coach that as well?
Yeah, I guess the way I would look at it a bit differently, because I think the days of taking investors through a presentation deck are over.
Okay.
These days, I would say you create your investor deck like you would create your CV or your resume. This is something that people can read and then say, oh yeah, this sounds exciting. I really like this. They seem on top of it. Then when you're actually sitting down with an investor and talking to them, very rarely do you want to turn the pages of a pitch deck. Instead, you just want to have a conversation.
Dialogue.
Yeah, exactly. Because, if you're a serious investor and you're looking at investing in something, I often describe it, it's a bit like a dating, and it's a bit like the days of dating, because what you're trying to decide is, do I want to spend the next 5, maybe even 10 years working with this person, mentoring this person, helping this person? Do I are they going to be able to deliver for that time? So we work on everything. We work on the pitch deck, we work on investor meetings, we work on Q&A, everything that an investor might want, so that you are completely ready when it comes to pitching, pitching an investor.
So it's a total preparation. Does that include in it simulation where you guys have a simulated meeting and you coach them on, hey, you did that well, you need to improve here? I would imagine that's part of it.
Totally. Role play is probably the real specialist thing we do at Benjamin Ball Associates, because so many of us have been corporate financiers, or we've been in the investing industry. What we can then do is say, look, if you're meeting an institutional investor, let's role play that. If you're meeting a private individual, let's role play that. If you're meeting a family office, let's role play that, because they'll all have very different ways of dealing with this, and because we've got the experience of that, we can make it work for them.
That's totally recommended. I mean, my business, I do simulated calls and role plays with everyone I put through my training, and they have to demonstrate they not only learned the technique, but can execute the technique. So I'm really applaud what you're doing there. Tell me a bit about your ICP. So who is your ideal client profile, Benjamin, that you guys like to go after to utilize your services?
Yeah, I guess over the years, we've developed a real niche with private equity, with venture capital, and we work with a lot of those firms, both on their own pitches, because obviously as a private equity firm, when you go out, you're talking to investors in the same way, but also we work with their portfolio companies. And that for us is great because, when a company really trusts us, we know we have a nice steady stream of work coming that way.
Is it a target audience size of employees or revenue they generate? How do you determine that?
No. I mean, we tend not to work with startups, mainly because startups, you're spending too long querying people about have you actually got the right business model and stuff like that. We tend to work with growth businesses, but we work with anything from a 10-person business to some multinationals. So, a very, very wide range of clients. And we don't specialize in any particular area because we always take it that, our client will be an expert in whether it's nuclear energy or, cybersecurity or whatever.
Software or
the
SaaS, right?
Exactly. Right. We're the investor experts, we're the communication experts, but you bring those two together and you've got a very powerful combination.
Like that. So now let's talk about how people hear about your group at Benjamin Ball Associates. So is it through traditional methods like referrals where people have utilized your services, they're satisfied, they share it with a friend or a similar person in that industry? Hey, you may want to bring Benjamin and his group in. Is that one method that gets you a lot of opportunity for new business? Or is it you use a business media or what we call social media, LinkedIn, to try and make sure you're present on that and on it quite often? Do you do a email campaign for targeted clients who might be able to take advantage of what you bring to the table, and you send them out something and then see how that return comes back in? What other methods do you use to get conferences, I imagine, as well, where you attend? So tell me which ones yield you the highest return.
Yeah, I guess for us, obviously, referrals, references, by far the best. Probably about 70% of our business is either a repeat customer or word of mouth.
Oh, referred. Okay.
And I was very lucky when we first started up. I got picked up as a speaker at one of the big conferences called Super Return. So for about 5 years, I was a regular speaker at their conferences all around the world. And that was very, very good. Unfortunately, the business model's changed now. Those days, they used to pay me to speak. Now we have to pay them to speak. So there's not quite as
I know the feeling.
We've been very, very generous with our content on our website, benjamin.com. We've got hundreds of articles that the team has written over the years about all aspects of presenting, pitching, investor communications, and we find quite a lot of those get picked up by people, and
then they make an inquiry in based on that.
Exactly.
Okay.
They read what we say and they think, "Oh, that resonates. I need this." So then they make a new Barry. So it's quite, it's quite good. And then what else? We also, I suppose, do a little bit on AdWords as well. But that's, I think, as most people find, it's getting less and less attractive.
Yeah, I mean, I think that people are looking more for developing that trust with the person, and they want to be able to engage with the person. Just going through a search engine optimization, it's not going to get that same feel. And I think and with AI, it's changing a lot of all that and other things. But still, your business is a trust business. I mean, people got to feel, hey, you're going to produce something that's going to be invaluable for them. And we'll, at the end of our presentation today, make sure we share with the group how to best reach you and your company, Ben. So selling presentations, can sometimes be multiple stakeholders. I mean, you go into a company, you've got one group who wants this, one group who may want this. As they get ready to present to their client, do you have to alter presentations for different stakeholders within one organization?
Oh, completely. I mean, I think that's probably the real art of selling pitching. Anyone who spends their life selling will know this, that, I think one of our mottos, and it's an old sales one, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth.
Correct.
Use them in that ratio. And so it's all about listening to the people you're talking to and just working out what is it they're really looking for here. I've got a great example of one. There's a company we were helping sell, and this woman who was selling it, she was absolutely brilliant, knew her stuff back to front. But as she came to us and said, look, my corporate advisors are giving me this PowerPoint deck. I don't do PowerPoint. What do I do? It says, all right, put the PowerPoint to one side. Let's just have a conversation. You just have a conversation with your investor and just ask them some questions. And the killer question was, when you saw the teaser, what was it that made you want to come and meet us? And then she just listened and she probed. And every person that came to see her was looking to buy something a bit different. But because she listened and she knew what they wanted, she could then adapt her pitch at each stage for the people she was talking to.
Well, it's critical that they do that. I'm glad you taught her that. It's called an open-ended question. I worked at Xerox when I first got out of college, and
best training there is, isn't there?
It was the number one, and I was very fortunate that I was actually an instructor there. So I learned how to deliver and teach and train on their communication process. But you're right. I mean, if I had $1 for every time I said 2 ears and 1 mouth, we'd have a very good meal today, Benjamin. But I can tell you that it is crucial. And the needs analysis part is what determines everything. Otherwise, you're just the same as everybody else. Then you're a commodity, and then it's a price-based decision. So you want to avoid that as much as you can. So I'm really glad to hear you guys do it that way. So tell me about within your clients. You've got decision influencers, decision makers who will impact what is the outcome of your relationship. How long from initial contact with a client to fruition to an agreement to work with you is that normal selling cycle for you?
Well, I guess because we tend to aim for people towards the bottom of the funnel. Okay. We go for we don't tend to have those very long sales cycles. So touch wood, quite quick. Could be a week, 2 weeks max from someone.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Someone coming to us. Because, as I said, I often describe, I often see our job, we're a bit like a plumber. Someone's got a problem and they just want somebody there now to help them. So, and I've had them where it's sort of, can you help me today? Can you help me tomorrow? But sometimes it's, over the next few weeks.
Is that promoted on your website, for example, the quick turnaround and what you can do and spontaneous reaction? Yes. That'd be a brilliant part of it. I like that.
Yeah.
So tell me a bit about when you guys look currently at retention strategy, which is critical for any business in the world today. I get a client, I deliver a product. Yours many times though, is it determined as the finished product? How do you get them to come back and use you again? It's because they have a new project, or how do you get repeat business from clients, or how do you retain your clients?
Yeah, I guess a number of things. I mean, one of which is people come back to us again and again. Like some of the private equity companies, we've seen them go through 3 owners, 3 different investment cycles. and they just keep coming back to us again and again because they know the value of our service and the fact there are very few other people doing what we do. We also keep in touch with our people with, we send out fortnightly emails just with little tips about what to do. And obviously the usual, just keeping in touch with those people that we love. And, but, because it's a very transactional thing we do.
Right.
We don't, I think we pride ourselves. We don't actively go out and sell hard. We just want to be recognized as the place to go when you need to raise money from investors, and we can just help make that process easier and make it more effective.
Well, the proven track record is huge, having that in your testimonials. So when you think about challenges, when you look at your business model today going forward, obviously there's a lot of things that are changing in our world with AI. I'm not sure if there's any other competitor in your niche. It sounds like you guys have really carved out something pretty unique. So where do you see the biggest business challenges for you and your company going forward?
Probably like any small to medium-sized business, pipeline, new business pipeline is always the challenge. I guess, I think someone once told me when I started up, always be a bit paranoid. And that's certainly how I see it. Every week I look at our pipeline number, and if it isn't a little bit bigger, then I start to panic and wonder what we need to do.
It's an entrepreneurial individual's constant challenge. So I appreciate you being honest. But share, what do you do then to try and deal with that challenge?
Yeah, there's the pipeline, and then the other thing I think is just because of the whole AI and the way Google works, they keep changing the rules. So, when you can create some articles which for a while are like the #1 article in the world for, how to pitch to investors, how to start a presentation. And then, of course, with AI, everyone can just copy it, and, you're suddenly down at number 20. And that's very dispiriting. And when that happens. So what are we doing about it? I just carry on doing what we are doing and doing it better every day.
Just plug away and keep after it. There you go.
Exactly.
Tell me where you see the biggest opportunities then. You see your challenge. Where do you see your biggest opportunities?
I guess in some ways, AI I see as an opportunity, but not in the way that most say. It's because AI is absolutely terrible at creating pitch decks. I think we've had a lot of clients, even in the AI industry, come to us with their AI generated pitch decks and just wondering why no one's interested in looking at it.
Yeah.
It might look very glossy and very lovely, but unless it's actually answering the questions that you want answered, it's quite useless. So in that way, I see AI as an opportunity. People think they can cut corners, they can get AI to produce it, but they can't.
So the core content that you guys deliver is so different than what an AI one would deliver. Describe some of those nuances or differences.
Yeah. I guess the first thing is really knowing what an investor wants, above the surface, having a really clear, distinctive messaging, so that and having a very powerful storyline, consistent storyline that runs through the pitch, and then of course runs through the pitch meetings afterwards. Those are probably the key things that you've got to get right.
Because critical, you have to be able to be a differentiator to show that there is a uniqueness in what you do versus AI. So you establish that, and the client looks at it, and does that more often than not become the determining factor in utilizing you versus a computer-generated version?
Well, often they come to us because they've tried the computer-generated version, which doesn't work. I had a great one. We're working on one at the moment where they've produced this beautiful-looking, very glossy pitch deck, but it was just too full of stuff, too complicated. I couldn't, read about 10 pages in, I couldn't even work out what they did. So, we spent a couple of weeks completely redoing that.
Okay.
And touch wood, they'll be on their way to raising the funds they need.
Wonderful. And then again, that's what's critical with all that, Benjamin, is that's a valid proof source. Here's what they chose to look at. Here's what they ended up doing. Here were our tangible results. And that's the last thing I'd like to ask you before we head and wrap this up. How do you measure? Everyone wants today to have an understanding of metric analysis. How do you measure the metrics of success for your company with your client?
Yeah. How do we measure it, or how does the client measure it?
Both.
What I want is the client to measure it.
Correct.
And the best way they can do that is to have some really good pitch meetings. And
Okay.
that's what they tell us over and over again. It went well, the client understood it, the investor loved it, and ideally, it's faster to close the deal, and ultimately they get a better price for the deal as well. And that's why we get called back again and again
Correct.
and again by these private equity firms, because they can just see the value add. I mean, that's all we're interested in doing, adding value to our clients.
Which is the one thing that everyone tries to do in the service industry. And I understand and appreciate that, Benjamin. So tell everyone in our audience, how is the best way to reach you, but more importantly, to reach out to get more information about what you and your company can provide? Would you share that with the group, please?
Absolutely. The easiest way to get hold of us, have a look at our website, benjaminball, all one word, .com, benjaminball.com.
Okay.
And on there, you'll see the whole range of services, all their pitch coaching, pitch things, and just get in touch with me or get in touch with my colleague, Louise Angus. And in there, we can talk about how we can help you.
And it has obviously email information. It's at the website, but it's got email. And if they need to reach out,
telephone number. We're based in the UK, based out of London. And obviously, our clients are global. So that's the other joy of this work. Yeah.
Well, if you can believe it, Benjamin, our 25 minutes is up. And I really enjoyed the conversation. I hope you have as well. It's been very enlightening in terms of what you do. I think it's a great concept. Having to make presentations my entire life since I was 22 years old. I've been doing it for 50 years. So I wish I'd had your help at many times along the way. Trust me. Probably wouldn't have made some of the mistakes and had to talk my way through things versus what I was presenting. But that was always the gift of gab and my ability to do that needs analysis. But now I like what you guys do. And the role play simulation for the presentation, I think, is huge. I think you've got a great product. And I think people who are listening should really look into taking advantage of it. Benjamin, thank you for your time today. We appreciate it on Principal Podcast. Wish you nothing but the best going forward.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Principal Podcast. We hope you've learned valuable lessons and strategies to grow your firm and take your business to the next level. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening to this show so you never miss an episode. To apply and be a guest on the show, click the link in the description. See you next time.